Hey, what is going on, everybody? Oh my god. Roger, it's been like a month since we said the word NX at this channel. Let's do a discussion kind of wrapping up all the NX news that has popped up, well, rumors that have popped up in about the past month or so. Are you ready for this, Roger?
Do we have to, Joshy, old buddy, old pal?
Well, we really need some ad revenue at this channel, so yes.
You got a dead channel, Joshy.
If you don't mention NX in your channel that covers Nintendo, you're pretty much nothing to anyone.
Them style videos don't pay the bills, my boy.
They make me happy, but they don't pay the bills, so let's chat about NX.
Funny story. My mom said she watched through your Halloween, like your video tour of your house. She's like, this was a really good video, but it seems like something a girl would do.
Well, you know what? I'll listen to the first half of that comment and just ignore the latter half.
Yeah.
Why would a girl have a bunch of scary monsters in her house? What?
I don't know.
Girls would be afraid of that.
I think it's your attention to detail that sort of.
Okay, well then you know what? That's a compliment for ladies and a compliment for me. I'll take it.
There you go. All right.
So Roger.
Yes.
Particularly what we're going to talk about here is the subject of, has Nintendo waited too long to reveal the NX, and has the wind been taken out of their hype sails because everything we're learning about the NX is being confirmed from like third-party sources, like Ubisoft, Boogie2988 apparently had some news. Did you hear about that?
I did, yeah.
Just casually is like, yeah, it's going to be a handheld thing, and So I'm going to pose that question to you, and then I'll answer it afterwards.
Sure.
But do you feel that has Nintendo been waiting so long that when we finally see this, if it is in fact what people are claiming it is, will we be like, oh, okay, well...
No, honestly, I don't.
Okay,
and
well, explain.
I know your title, like we even talked about this beforehand, is going to be clickbaity, to be like,
Sure.
Yeah, of course it is, of course. But no, I don't think it's too late. I think the issue that comes up is that we might be underwhelmed by it, and that could cause a problem. But I don't think that has anything to do with the amount of time that they've waited to announce things. I think that just comes down to the system as a whole. But I'm going to be honest. I think them kind of going silent is kind of a good thing. I think this element of surprise and not knowing, while it might not be good for us YouTubers who sort of make half of our living making videos about it and talking about the news, it might not be good for us. But I think ultimately it's okay in the long run. I think it's sort of a smart decision of Nintendo's to sort of wait until really they want to announce everything in one blow. Here's my concern, is that when they announce the NX finally, if they just announce the system and maybe show off one game, we're going to have a problem. I think when they show off the system, they're going to need to show their entire launch lineup and show everything about this game and how it really makes playing games on the NX unique, and why we need one of these systems and why it's different from the Wii U, and really selling it to mainstream audiences. That's what's important here. I don't really think the long amount of time that they've waited to release anything or any real information on this is going to be a detriment to it at all. And I think it's been fun sort of speculating on NX and hearing from all these third-party sources, like, what's it going to be? Am I sick about hearing it from third-party sources and rumors and Emily Rogers tweets? Of course. But at the end of the day, like, I'd love to hear something from Nintendo straight from the source. But, it's their decision on when to announce it. And I disagree with you. You think that it's not going to hit the March 2017.
I don't, no.
Yeah. I think it does. I think they kind of have to. I mean, they've announced this to their fiscal, on their fiscal calendar. And considering the fact the end of this month, there is their big blowout meeting where they're going to have like the press conference in Tokyo. They're going to have the full blowout of like their earnings for the past year. That is probably going to be a make or break conference for them. And it's going to be not only live tweeted by the guy from Wall Street Journal. I know he's doing like the live tweeting for it, but it's going to be live blogged by pretty much every Japanese source. I don't know the exact date of it. I think it's like the 26th, if I'm correct. You guys can correct me in the comments below, but their big like fiscal meeting is going to be later this month. And I think that is probably where we're going to get the big blowout of information. I don't know if we'll necessarily see all the games and the NX during that time, but I think we'll know during that whether or not it will for sure be coming out in March. And right now, I'm going to say, yeah, it still comes out in March.
So I am going to predict that at this financial whatever in Japan in late October, I'm going to predict that they show like the gimmick behind the system.
Okay.
I don't know that they will show any games, and if they do show a game, it might be Zelda Breath of the Wild running on the hardware, Or they might be a little bit more bold and a little bit nicer to us fans and show us like a new Mario game running.
That's
on the system.
100. There's 0% chance this gets shown off without the new Mario.
Okay.
I would make a stake bet on that. That I would
Well, I
be
don't eat
shocked
steak,
if they showed
so-
it. Yeah, I know you don't, but to the majority of people, that'd be a good bet. I would a veggie burger bet for you then, I guess.
From the Cheesecake Factory by your apartment.
Either that or from the Jurassic Park area at Universal Orlando.
Ooh, all right, deal. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna predict that. I think what's gonna happen is we're not gonna get what do we want as Nintendo fans? We want a date announced. It'll be like a week from the time they announce it, and we're like, oh my god, we got a week to basically just not sleep, and then we want it to be this huge, big, like, direct, this explosion of, like, showing us 15 games, maybe more, and we get to see a bunch of them. We get to see the controller and the game console and all this stuff and the handheld thing. I don't think that's going to happen. At least not this year. I think that what we'll get this year is, like, the same way we got with the Wii Remote. Remember with the whole Wii Remote when it was Nintendo Revolution and they just showed us the controller to tease us? They kind of revealed what the controller would be, and then we had to wait till E3 to see the games. I think we're going to have to wait till like January to get that big direct. And in October, this month, we'll get kind of the reveal of what the gimmick is.
I'd be okay with that, though.
Really? I would be
I would be okay
pain.
with that. I was scared of what you were going to say. I thought you were going to say, we get that teaser where they kind of show off the controller or show off what the gimmick is, and then they wait until E3 to do their big blow.
I don't think they can wait till E3 because it has to be launched by E3.
Exactly. I 100% agree. I think it needs to be launched and out the door, even if it doesn't make March. It needs to be out in stores before next E3 because by that point, everyone will know everything about the Scorpio. You know, the PlayStation 4 Pro will have been out for a long time, and I know they keep saying they're not competing with Microsoft and Sony, and I agree, they're not competing anymore at this point. They're doing their own thing, but I feel like they're still, even though there's a lot of other 3DS content they announced in that last Direct, there is not enough content for a console release for them to wait until next E3. And at the very least, Zelda needs to be released by next E3 because they spent all of this past E3 talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be so wrong. Like, when I say these things, I hope that I'm wrong. I'm really not interested in being right when I say this, but I don't know. They're not sending out any vibes that they're confident in a March release, and so that makes me think, this is going to be delayed to, like, late April or May sometime. March is also not the greatest time to release games. A lot of games don't come out in March. It's like
actually, Smash Brothers Brawl came out in March. It came out on my birthday, March 9th.
Smash Brothers Brawl came out on your birthday.
Yeah. 2008, March 9th.
And it's your favorite Smash Brothers.
Yeah. Well, no, it's my least favorite Smash Brothers. But I mean, yeah.
So yeah, you think that no, they haven't waited too long. The wind has not been taken from their sails.
No, I mean we're all still making videos about it, so that should
true.
just go ahead and show you right there.
Some of us daily.
Yeah, I don't, and neither do you. So.
No, I think that's too much.
Yeah.
But I will say this. It'd be nice if they revealed a whole bunch of NX stuff before the holiday season. Nice little holiday gift for Nintendo's fans to actually be able to have some excitement for a change. I think it'd be smart, too. Because holiday season is when there is like a lot of attention on gaming. And even though Nintendo won't be selling it, it'd be nice to know that Nintendo has this like really interesting future coming up next year. I don't know.
I think their big holiday thing this year, though, I think
is
their
that
big
NES thing.
The little NES thing, and I think Pokemon, too. I think Sun and Moon is going to be big. And everything, even from people who've sort of been down on Pokemon recently, everybody is hyped for Sun and Moon. I feel like they're changing so many things about the formula. There aren't gym leaders. There are trial captains. There are these weird Ultra Beasts. They took out Mega Evolution until post-game. Like, there's a lot. The new Pokemon all look really cool. There's, like, unique concepts. The environment is neat, having it being based, on Hawaii. I feel like that's going to be enough to bring in a lot more mainstream people to Nintendo systems and get them excited. And they're also jumping on it on a good time because now a lot more people are talking about Pokemon because of Pokemon Go. So I do think their holiday push is going to be, like you said, the NES, Pokemon, and then also, weirdly enough, that Mario game. So the one for phones.
Oh, Super Mario Run? Yeah, that's coming out in December. So they'll have the Mario game, they'll have the NES Mini thing, which I'm sure will be sold out everywhere and being sold on eBay for like $400.
Yep.
And then they got Pokemon, which will be the strong 3DS. Did any of this 3DS stuff they announced in that Direct, was any of that for this holiday season, or is that all?
Pikmin's next year, I think, and so is Yoshi. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mario Maker. Oh, no, Mario Maker, I think, is this year. Mario Maker, I think, is December.
Yeah. So they'll probably have that as one of their holiday titles. So I think that they'll get by. I think the most Pokemon will be the biggest selling thing for them, but I think that NES thing will be really big for them. But I'm just saying, like, I hope that they're not like, well, we don't need to talk about the NX now because we got that stuff. I feel like you need to talk about NX. I would say that. I don't think they've taken the wind out of their sails, but I think that it would have been a lot more fun to have it revealed to me, not knowing anything
about
as
it.
Far as right, because
Yeah.
like when we saw the Wii U gamepad, we were already we knew that it was going to be a screen controller because so many leaks came out. So I was just like, oh, okay, well that's the thing that they said it was going to be.
Yeah. So I agree with you on that aspect, and I also agree with what you were talking about like releasing things in a timely manner and not showing everything. And here's the thing, all right? This has been confirmed. Miyamoto, in case you guys haven't heard this news, is currently at Universal Studios in Florida filming stuff. And everything's under NDA. People aren't allowed to film right now, but it's known that Miyamoto is there. I think he is filming a thing to talk about the theme parks for an upcoming Nintendo Direct that I'm guessing is going to happen later this month, around the same time as that big fiscal meeting. Mm-hmm. And I think that is when they're going to talk more about the parks. They're going to talk more about mobile. I think we'll see Fire Emblem and Animal Crossing, and then they'll announce the March, spring release dates for that. And then I think we're going to get the big blowout of NX. And I think that's all going to happen during the next Nintendo Direct. I think it's going to be a Nintendo news blowout. And yeah, that's my guess.
So I'm happy you brought that up because I thought I was nuts for thinking this, but I was kind of, and maybe this is just because I'm such a huge Nintendo fan, I was thinking ever since we saw that news that Miyamoto was filming something in front of the Universal Globe.
Yeah.
In Orlando, I kept thinking like, oh my God, what if they have like some big event, some big live event where they're like going to talk about so many things. Like, hey, now we're going to talk about the future of Nintendo at Universal Orlando.
Now that'd be great. I mean, I would love that.
And
I
now
would
here's
fly
the
out.
NX news.
Yeah.
And now this is like talking about and now here's a movie that we're working on with, I don't know, Disney or somebody.
So actually, yeah, the movie thing, that's interesting because the Pokemon Pikachu Detective movie or whatever it's confirmed to be in development. And there were rumors a while ago about like the Mario movie in collaboration with Sony. So yeah, I don't know.
So just imagine like I feel like that would bring tears of joy to me because that would be such a big gesture on Nintendo's part to be like, you know what, we've been down on our luck for like the last generation with the Wii U and for the last couple of years just with game releases and stuff. Wouldn't it be amazing if we just come out with like so many big announcements at once to just sort of solidify that Nintendo not only has a very important future, but it is amazing. It is theme parks, it is movies, it is a new console on the way, it is mobile phone stuff. Like, if they do that all in one big explosion, I don't feel like it would be too much. I don't think they need to, like, put those in their own separate thing.
I agree. I agree that I don't think it would be too much, but I also don't think, because we already know all that stuff is on the horizon, I think anybody who's following Nintendo news knows that this next generation, regardless of what the NX is or what its power is, this is going to be a more exciting generation than this one was. Like, guaranteed. Just having it where it's one system and it'll be like presumably the console and the handheld, knowing that the development teams are focusing on one core system is already going to make all those games way better. So,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think for me, it's funny because I don't actually play video games on the go. It's just not something that appeals to me. Usually when I'm out and about, I like to kind of get away from games, and I don't really feel that they're like my lifeblood to where I need to be playing them when I'm out and about. So that's not really a selling point for me with the NX. If that's what it ends up being, I'm not really going to care so much about that. What excites me most about the NX is the idea that the development teams don't have to keep going back and forth between designing a handheld and a home console version of all these franchises.
Yeah.
So, like, when we get Mario Kart NX, we don't have to, that team then can go on and make a totally different game or help out with another game. Or they can, have a small portion of the team work on DLC that we get to keep the game fresh and interesting through the years. So that, to me, is a much sexier selling point with the NX than, you can also take it with you or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sure there will be people that do take advantage of that, who do game on the go. But I kind of feel like when it comes to gaming on the go, competing with mobile is very difficult. And I feel like that's why it's so smart for Nintendo to have their mobile division where they're releasing the more simple, straightforward games to where I kind of wonder, like, if serious games on the go have a huge future. I don't know. But that's just my opinion. That's just kind of from my perspective. I would say that it's smarter to focus on mobile and a really good home console. But we'll see how that goes.
I mean, the Pokemon company's already announced their next game after Sun and Moon is going to be for NX. Like, they're making Pokemon
which
games
could be
for NX.
I mean,
which is we've never had a mainline Pokemon game.
Right.
People could argue Coliseum and Gale of Darkness, but those were side games. Those were spin-off. They were role PGs. They were role-playing games. They were RPGs. But they were separate adventures from the mainline Pokemon games. You would snatch Pokemon instead of capturing them. You would, like, it wasn't like a real next mainline Pokemon title. And I think they have the perfect opportunity where I think they could maybe test the waters with NX by doing like the Diamond and Pearl remake for that, and then using that engine to make the next iteration of the franchise after Sun and Moon, or even maybe releasing an NX version of Sun and Moon. I don't know. There's a lot of things they could do, so I'm stoked.
Yeah, I mean, the rumors are that this console could potentially, in its launch window, have a Pokemon game, a new Mario game, and The Legend of Zelda.
Right.
Which is pretty big.
That's unprecedented. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think that it's too late. I don't think Nintendo has waited too long to reveal the NX. I think if they have nothing significant to say by the end of this year, they have waited too long.
I agree. I think if we don't find out something by the end of the year, I agree, then they have waited too long and then it's become a hindrance. But I think so long as it's before the end of the year, we're good.
Right. And I know some people could argue, well, it doesn't matter when they reveal it. You'll get excited about what they reveal. But I feel like, there are a lot of people that might just move on and focus on a different console, or just be like, well, they waited too long. I really want to buy a new system. I'm going to get the new Xbox or the new PlayStation or something like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like just, Nintendo does have a tendency to kind of bat around their fans a little bit too much. They don't listen to their fans very often. And I feel like it would just be a really good gesture to actually throw your fans a bone and start talking about this darn thing before, we've waited like over a year or something. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I will, though. I'll give credit to the Pokemon Company because it clearly have been listening to their fans.
They just announced it, didn't they? Didn't they just say like, oh, we're working on an NX something?
Well, yeah, I mean that, but also like with Sun and Moon, there are so many things they added for like competitive players that it's clear that they are listening to people. So yeah, maybe they should take some advice from the Pokemon Company. But one thing two things I want to mention before we wrap up though is one, I've always been of the mindset that for launch window titles, because you mentioned like, oh, you want like 15 really good games. I am of the mindset that quality is more important than quantity during launch windows, because we got a large amount of games during the Wii launch and a large amount of games during the Wii U launch, but a lot of them were ports and were just sort of like bleh, whatever. And there were at least enough solid games during Wii's launch, things like Twilight Princess and
we had a
Wii
great
Sports.
Launch, I feel.
I agree. But that was the perfect mix between, I think, quality and quantity, because there were enough quality titles in there, despite the kind of garbage games that were thrown in there, that the launch lineup was at least strong. Whereas with Wii U, they tried to take the same approach, but the quality wasn't there. Like New Super Mario Bros. U wasn't really all that exciting.
The Batman
Nintendo Land was fun, but it came
party.
With it. Yeah, and then like Batman filled in the third-party gap. I don't know. It was just like it wasn't as exciting to me. And I think so long as they have something in that launch window like a Mario, a Zelda, and a Pokemon, and I think they'll have something surprising as well. We know Retro's game is going to be there sooner rather than later. The big rumor that we heard about that is that it's not a Donkey Kong or a Metroid, so I'm very excited to see what that's going to be, whether or not that's a new IP or maybe the revival of a franchise. And the thing is, a lot of these development teams in-house from Nintendo, we have not heard things from in a very long time. So they've got to be working on something. I mean, Monolith Soft is probably working on a new Xenoblade, I'm guessing. Xenoblade Chronicles X did pretty well for them, and the way X ended, they could easily continue on the story. That fills in sort of the gap for a quality RPG. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool things they could do for launch, and I think you agree with me on that too. So,
yeah, I'm just ready to finally see the games. That's what I'm most interested in. Like with the console, they might be able to surprise me with a few of the little features, but I'm not really so interested in the console. Like I said earlier, I'm not really going to be using the whole take it and play it on the go. I'm mostly just be like, okay, let's see the games. Show me a new Mario Kart that's got a battle mode, baby, and that will get me so excited. And a mission mode too. I'm going to be greedy. I want mission mode back too.
You want Splatoon? With the two
installation. Yeah. Think of how long ago it was that we talked about our wants and desires.
That was a year and a half ago. Yeah.
We did like what we want to see in a sequel. We did that so long ago.
Yeah.
Roger, thank you for talking with me about...
we're not done. No.
Oh, you got more to say.
One last thing, because I got to continue on it. So, I want to talk about what you think the surprise is. What you think the big surprise thing is that they're keeping hidden, and the reason why they haven't been revealing the system, because we've heard everything about the system specs by this point, down to like rumors about the graphics cards and about like the processing and about like the resolution of the screen that's on the handheld, and about how it apparently like the handheld part docks to something on the TV and that the controllers break off of the side of it. But what do you think is going to be like the big surprise that nobody knows about yet? Because internally, I've heard from people that the reason they delayed showing it off at E3 was not due to whatever the big surprise is, but was because they are building in things that take advantage and future-proof for VR. So I'm thinking that might be a big part of it. But I also think that patent that was going around about a week and a half ago, and I wasn't able to do a video on it because I was back at home in Chicago and dealing with stuff with my family, but that patent about like projecting screens into the real life, and almost like having these projection screens act as holograms where they could like read things that are jutting out of your real life environment and create like a flat screen for allowing you to like play on a screen anywhere. That's pretty cool to me. If that's what the gimmick is, that could be kind of revolutionary. So I want to get your thoughts on that.
Holographic gaming?
It's basically, it's not holograms per se, but it's like the controller can project out a screen. Like project out a screen, but the screen basically acts like a hologram because the projection can be made off of like objects in the real world. So like say for example, I'm playing on the game, it's not called the gamepad, but whatever. I'm playing on the handheld version of the NX, right? And that a projection from behind the system projects onto like my bookcase. And on my bookcase, there's like books sticking out, and there's like some toys, and there's like a Chinese checkers box and all this stuff. So the system would read what the farthest object out is from the bookcase and would create a flat surface from that object and allow you to play on like a projected screen that I guess you could argue is like holographic. But that's the way this patent sounds. And this was like, they talked about it in detail on the last 8.4 Play. So I'd highly recommend, if you guys don't listen to 8.4 Play, it's a really good like localization podcast. Go listen to them. They talked about it, and I thought like, this is so unbelievably cool. And that could be something that really is different and unique. You know what I mean? Being able to play literally anywhere by creating your own projected screen, that is legitimately revolutionary. That's something nobody else has done. That could be really cool for multiplayer, where basically you could play on the go with your friends, but everyone really has their own big screen. Like, I don't know. That seems really cool.
Isn't that what Microsoft did with that crappy Conquer game?
No, that's like with the HoloLens and VR and AR, and no, that's something totally different. This wouldn't be AR. This would be which is why it's mind-blowing, is this would be a projected screen from outside the system. So
could potentially be interesting. I think the big secret is that it's a home console and a handheld in one.
I don't think that's the big secret.
That's the big secret.
If that's the big secret, I might be a little disappointed.
I mean, Nintendo patents a lot of ideas that never see the light of day.
But I mean, recently they have patented so much weird stuff that like
they're throwing us off.
Yeah, maybe, but that just sounds too cool and too unique.
Sounds like it could be cool. They might have something there.
Yeah.
I can't picture it in my head though, so I'd have to see it in action to determine whether or not I'd be excited by it.
Sure.
They should make a controller that's like a remote, and it's you can hold it with one hand, or you turn it on its side, and it's got motion controls, and you can point at the screen for first-person shooters.
Oh, that would be amazing! And you could play tennis with it. It would act as if it was like a tennis racket.
And bowling. This would be and sword fighting.
That would be so
That's
good.
What they need to do. Do that.
And then you see, the thing is though, they would do that, and then people would complain that the sword fighting wasn't entirely accurate if you're playing in a dimly lit room or in a well-lit room. And then
just release an update later in like a couple years down the line.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe they could just fix it. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll just say like Motion Plus or something like
Maybe it'd be called the V or something. Who knows?
That's ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, I think we both agree that their time is not quite up yet, but the longer they wait, the more that will leak out. And when we learn about these things, it's going to make it a little bit less exciting to finally hear from them. So, hopefully the games are just so damn good that it doesn't matter if we know everything about the system, because it's what the games are what's going to make our jaws drop.
I mean, that's the X factor. Really, it comes down to games, whether or not the games are going to be good. If the games don't take advantage of the new gimmick in a cool way, or if the new gimmick is just there to be cool and the games are really good, then fine. But if there aren't really that many good games at launch and it's mostly just ports, then, we might have a problem.
Hopefully there's no ports.
I would not mind we've talked about this before. I would not mind like a championship edition of Smash Brothers.
Oh, right, yeah. But that wouldn't be a
Brothers.
Port necessarily. They probably
kind of would.
Well, if they took the 3DS stuff and up-resed it, that wouldn't feel like a port to me. That would feel like, ooh, this is like a giant game.
Yeah, I could see them doing that, though.
I think it'll come down to the games. And I think, to quote a great man, my favorite Nintendo man of all time, I think we will say wow.
Wow.
Little Mr. Iwata quote there.
We will say wow.
You remember when he said about the graphics of the Wii, when we see him, we'll say wow?
I remember. I remember the 4-second clip he showed off of Metroid Prime 3 during that, yeah. That was such an exciting conference. Remember when he talked about Virtual Console for the first time?
And everybody was like, oh
playing
my God.
the first Excite Bike, Punch-Out, or Earthbound will make us all feel young again. I remember that exact
Maybe
speech.
for a little while.
If just for a little while. Man, R.I.P. Iwata. Love you, man.
So, Roger.
Yeah.
That is our NX discussion. We haven't had one in a while. I felt like we were past due.
Yep.
I'm ready to see the games.
Me
I think
too.
you agree. Roger, all of your information's in the description, but do you want to tell them where they can find you?
Yeah, I mean, they can find me at Rogersbase anywhere, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Twitch, on Instagram, on Miiverse. And actually, I have 2 Miiverse accounts now, because I have one on my 2DS as well, and that's what I'll be playing Sun and Moon on. So if you want to follow my Sun and Moon progress, you can follow me on there too. It's just Rogersbase 2DS. But yeah, my main Miiverse is Rogersbase. I just like going in Miiverse to troll, I'm going to be honest. So it's fun. Okay. And I have friends who work in the Miiverse division, so I know they'll see my posts and they'll have to flag them. So, yeah. I put one, I did a screenshot recently that got banned, where it was a screenshot of Rosalina sort of giving the side eye to Bayonetta and Corrin, and female Corrin, or Kamui, whatever you want to call her, and it was Rosalina talking to Zero Suit Samus, and it was a quote from Mean Girls that I fixed, and she's like, I don't care whether or not they're the coolest witch in the Nintendo universe or the star of the next Fire Emblem game. If they're not wearing shoes and they're not wearing underwear, they can't sit with us. And it was and I got all these likes, and then Nintendo took it down because they thought it was inappropriate. But whatever, Bayonetta doesn't wear pants. Give her pants. What?
Bayonetta doesn't wear pants?
No, her entire outfit's made of hair. I can't believe you didn't know that. Yeah.
It's like a leather catsuit.
Well, yeah, made of her hair.
That's disgusting.
And Kamui doesn't have shoes on.
Who doesn't?
Kamui, Corrin.
Oh, I've never even played as her.
Wow.
So I wouldn't even know what she looks like.
Oh, well.
She's the wizard from Harry Potter, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, guys, thank you for listening. It was fun.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.